Hey Black Belts, Sensei Ryan here with a kata creation video. This is going to be a tool to help you guys create the best black belt kata you can. I know that you're not used to creating katas, you've done them in class but never made your own. So in this video we're going to cover how to make a move, how to transition between them, some stance options that you guys have, as well as some memorization tips to help you guys get on the right track. Let's get started. Alright guys, so first thing we're going to start with here is what is a kata move. Now, traditional katas may not be broken down in the same way and moves may not be counted the same way, but to help you guys create your kata, we've come up with a very simple rule to set you on the right track. So that rule, as it's written in your guidelines, is a move is counted as a stance change or a direction change. Now, the reason this is the way it is your 36 moves cannot consist of you just sitting in a horse stance and doing 36 punches. That's not quite a kata. So when we're counting our moves, make sure that we're getting dynamic and using many directions and many stances throughout the kata. For example, if I were to take 4 punches from horse stance, that is one move as we define it. However, if I change my direction and stance and still do those same 4 punches, now all of a sudden it starts to look a little bit more like a kata, and we would have 4 separate moves there. All right, now that we've discussed different moves and how to count them, we're going to go over what choices we have for moves, starting with our stances. Now there are 3 main stances that you guys are going to use for your katas. 2 you should be very familiar with, and the third one is another option that you'll learn more about at black belt that you can throw in there for a little variety. Now the 3 main stances would be your horse stance, your long stance, and then the new one that we don't really know yet would be our back stance here. Now, when we're doing these stances, we want to make sure that we're mixing our stances in. So don't just do an entire kata of horse stances. Try to transition between many different stances. And there are others out there for you to use if you want to do your own research. Make sure that each punch and kick that you incorporate into your kata is connected to a stance. So your kata shouldn't be punches and kicks just standing up tall, but instead make sure that we're shifting between our stances using everything that we know to make our kata super strong. And that'll get us into our next topic, which is our transitions between stances. All right, so the next topic we're discussing during our kata creation is transitions. Now this is a huge factor in making our katas look great. And a transition simply means what I do between my moves. Now I'm going to give you guys 2 examples here. One where I don't really transition, and then a second where I incorporate some transitions. So using those 4 punches that we did earlier, here's my non-transition kata. I'll start in a horse stance, I do my punch, then I go to my next move, then I go to my next move, I transitioned a little bit there, and then we'll go to our final move. Now you can see how those moves don't feel very connected. They're 4 individual moves with nothing going on in between them. Now if I do those same 4 moves but add some good transitions, it'll look like this. Now we can see by adding those little transitions and staying in our stances just a little bit longer, the kata seems more connected and more fluid, which over the course of 36 moves is going to make a huge difference in how it presents. Now that we've talked about transitions, stances, and what counts as a move, we can start talking about the finer details of kata creation. This is going to incorporate things like tempo, move selection, and speed when you're performing your kata. when we're talking about tempo, I'm discussing the variation of our speeds between our kata. So speed and tempo kind of go together. Now speed is exactly what it sounds like, just how fast we go through our kata. We want to make sure that certain parts are a little bit slower than others, and this is where tempo comes into play. If I do the entire kata as fast as I can the whole time, even with good transitions, it's going to look really sloppy. Instead, what I want you guys to do is vary your movements so that some parts are fast, but then you pause to switch up how things feel. This will change the kata a little bit, and it'll make it seem like it has more variety and make it a little bit more put together. Another topic that I wanted to discuss is our move selection. Now when we're selecting moves, and I mean our kicks, punches, and blocks in our kata, it's important that students select movements that they are incredibly comfortable with and showcase their martial arts abilities. We don't want students creating a kata of only the fanciest moves they can think of, because typically those moves are not done at the level that really illustrates how hard the student's been working. Instead, think simple. Keep the moves to front kicks, hook kicks, side kicks, and your basic punches and blocks. But by keeping it simple, you'll create a kata that looks like a black belt created it, rather than a collection of jumping kicks that doesn't really work well together. Our final section for the kata creation is a big question I get asked all the time. Sensei, how do I memorize the kata? Should I write it down? Should I record myself doing it? How do I go about this? And my answer for this is whatever helps you memorize. However, my suggestion is always to memorize as you go. I've seen a lot of students utilize a notebook, writing down all of their kata moves, but then that's a real challenge to memorize 36 moves on a page. You memorize one, you forget step 5, you have to go back, and it just becomes a mess. You become very reliant on that notebook. So instead, what I suggest students do is memorize as they go. If I'm creating a kata here with you guys on camera, what I would do is bow, put out my first move. Now before I create any more of my kata, I'm going to repeat this one move until I have it memorized, mastered, and I'm doing it in my sleep. Once I have that move memorized, then I can move on and add another move, just one. And then I repeat the same process, doing the kata from the beginning to my current move. And by building this way, you're always practicing your last moves, even when adding a new move. Makes it much easier to memorize and creates a much more fluid and consistent kata. All right, guys, I hope that answers all of your questions involving our kata creation for your black belt. Now you guys can get started. Make sure that you're focusing on those stances, memorization tips, and really utilizing the moves that showcase your personal abilities as a martial artist. I look forward to seeing these katas in the black belt test. As always, if you guys still have questions, feel free to talk to your instructor or myself, and we'll make sure to set you on the right track. Good luck, and we'll see you guys in class soon.